How's it going, folks? I'm Matt. This is Photosynthetic, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Bean. You may be familiar with today's guest, you may be not, but after today's show, I'm pretty sure you will want to look more into his genetics. Drew, welcome very much to the show, sir. You, of course, run the Crystal Rose Seed Company, and there's a
Yep.
very famous strain out of that a lot of people know about. I'm going to ask you some questions on. I don't want to quite get into that quite yet. Welcome, man. Really happy to have you here. You definitely come recommended from a few of the gromies, especially out in the Northeast there where you're at. But certainly, again, I'm sure your stuff is found all over the place. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show. This is exciting.
Yeah, man. Well, I got a whole bunch of questions to ask you. We're gonna get into it right now. The very first one is, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background and how you came to start growing to begin with?
Yeah, so I am originally from upstate New York, right on the coast of Lake Ontario, and I traveled up to Maine. I don't know, it's got to be like 13, 15 years now at that point. Once I got to Maine, I was really fortunate enough to meet up with some of the best growers in the state that were already up here doing, the damn thing. And yeah, it was really happenstance. Like I had made like silver jewelry and like bebopped around through that and had made these connections, met up with this guy, Mega Raw Melts. He makes some of the best hash, has been making some of the best hash up here in Maine for a long time. Got to help him out, learn how to do an indoor grow from that point. I had only done like little in the field outdoor stuff back in upstate New York, right? Never had grow lights in the basement or anything like that. Got my feet wet working with him, learning, from trimming all the way to, starting seeds basically, right? Like, and every steps in between. Like, obviously, you don't start out like helping run places, you know what I mean? You're first trimming for your dinner, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Um, so yeah, started there. Um, Eventually moved into Maine. Like I was living in New Hampshire for like a little bit, eventually moved into Maine, started hanging up lights, a couple of tents, and it grew from there. What never left was the feeling I got when I first smoked cannabis for the first time was this is going to be part of my life forever. What I didn't know was how that was going to happen.
Right.
Um, I loved good weed, right? Like that was from the beginning, was like trying to find the best in New York, trying to find the best in Maine. And that's what ended up, that passion came from like just immediately connecting with the plant, um, being obsessive about genetics. Whenever I would get a bag, it'd be like, all right, who did this? What's the cross? What parents are in it? I mean, and this is just from like, you know, little, stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Then
yeah.
when I started, then when I started growing, that was when I go full feed into it. What some of the first seeds I popped came from Mega Raw. They were like old Grandpa Scratch from Karma, race fumes from Archive, um, some Bodhi gear,
Yeah.
um, like Satsuma, and then something else. Um, Memory loss from Archive. Like there was definitely like I got fortunate to have this genetic pool to look at it in the first place. And yeah, I mean, at that point, I remember spending as much time as I possibly could reading about genetics. And so it was who's breeding stuff that I already like, who's making cool new stuff. This was before Instagram was even really big, and at least like with people sharing content. Um, I know that it was like really weird the first couple times posting stuff. Like I can look at back at like an old Instagram page I had, and see stuff where it's like we didn't know how to use hashtags. We didn't know how to, like, I know they're dead now, but you know what I mean? It's one of those things where like everything was so cryptic and everything was so like half fuzzy. uh you didn't really know what you were looking at. Now things have progressed so far where like it's got to look good on Instagram, it's got to look good in the bag, the smell's got to translate. None of that mattered. The only thing that mattered for me was, is it a strain I already like and know and love or have remembered smoking in the past? Who made it? Are they like completely above the board with like what genetics they're using and not on some rename, game? And then can I get those seeds? And I
Yeah.
remember the first few rounds of me pulling crops down was just like buying seeds, buying seeds, buying seeds. Um, So I accumulated this big vault, right? Like this huge vault of seeds, and would go around and like just have seeds, passing seeds out, like talking genetics with all of the network of people I've now grown and interacted with. Maine was really like busy through those years. There was a ton of events that were still like underground, but for network's sake, were fantastic. You could just meet people, and share a joint, and there it is, like talk shop.
Yeah.
Um, I eventually got in and was like selling seeds, and then it moved into like making seeds.
Yeah.
But all of that was steps into becoming Crystal Rose.
So what was the point that made you say, I'm going to start making seeds as opposed to just passing them, handing them out when you really wanted to dive down in the breeding rabbit hole?
Um, it was a number of things, right?
Yeah.
So the first steps was I met a guy on the trim table, and he is super passionate about the plant, right? And would just take that time to like talk with me. He goes by Melting Pot Farms on IG, right? And so he is the guy that pretty much planted that seed, right? He would like talk to me about pollen collecting. He would talk to me about like, different tricks that he would do. He would always have some new thing that he had made, and he's a legend. Like he's been around forever. Um, he probably knows more than most people will ever be able to know, and you know what I mean. He's just the guy, right? So he um long story short, he had got a pack of seeds from me because I had purchased like a mixed vault auction. One of the packs in there I wasn't really interested in, and he was like, "Oh, hey, like let me see what's up with that pack." Um, made hunted it out. We would drink espresso. I'd roll down to his house. We'd sip espresso, talk plants for hours, right?
Nice.
And he yeah, so he had these two plants, and they were from that pack of seeds, and that was the OGKB triple kush male, right? And at that time, Dosido was real hot, like real hot, and I said I like this one. It looks just like Dosido. Like if you didn't tell me that this was the OGKB triple kush males, I'd say that's a beautiful looking Dosido plant. I mean, um, and that was it. He made some crosses with it, like a Chem Sister hybrid. Took it to the Dosido, couple other things, right? And then he eventually passed that OGKB Triple Kush cut to me, when he had a different project that came up on his plate that he wanted to devote more time to, right? Before that, I had taken a mail, and like he taught me a little trick about putting the mail in like right as you start flushing your room. So you have like a mail in the hallway, right? And it's
Yeah,
and it's
okay.
starting its
Give that week or
process
two
of like
early, yeah.
exactly. So you chop your mail is just about to dump his pollen. So I was in there collecting pollen sacks, like, just fresh opened ones in a container, not knowing anything about like the plant material and how to like handle it so that the pollen's viable. So those pollens were duds. They got moisture in them,
Been
didn't
there.
end up
Yeah.
working.
Hmm.
Yeah. Just like put them in a ball jar. It was like so ghetto.
Clumps up, starts
uh,
molding and shit. Yeah.
oh, dude, it was so bad, so bad. Um, Then I like put a male outside and like had some shady grown, I didn't really have a good light for outdoor at the spot I was at. Shady grown male, dumped a little bit of pollen on the plant next to it. I collected as much of that pollen as I could, stashed that away. That was the Kirkwood OG male. Um, then the bottom kind of fell out of the like cannabis market, like for us in Maine, right? I was growing with BioBiz, running double endeds, hand watering in big containers. Like it was just one of those situations where I wasn't set up for success. The market wasn't going to sustain the price I wanted for my pot. And so I turned that room off and fired up the tent and said, I'm going to make, for concentrate. I was a huge into smoking like diamonds back then, right? So I had a buddy, he could make them for me. So I dropped these couple of rooms for hash, right? And then I had a Do by OGKB Triple Kush because Melty had made that already. And I was looking through those seeds and found a male, put a bunch of the clones, moms that I had, flipped the lights and started making actual like seeds at that point. Was cooked completely. Watching that plant grow, seeing it rain down. Like, obviously, I'm talking back and forth, trying to get as many tricks and tips. I'm just a sponge at this point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Learned how to sift the pollen so that everything stayed clean, do that as the most effective way I could. Um, the seeds were great. They came out. The next round, right after that, I put the OGKB Triple Kush mail in and did it with this would be the original batches with like the Loose Lucy, the Chemdo, the Pie. Um, Trying to think, frosting was in there back then, which was like cookies and cream 13 by the OGKB Triple Kush. Yeah, so those were the first ones. They were just little tent projects. In fact, the last round of the OGKB Triple Kush, there were two rounds of that at that old house. The last round I pulled down the day I was moving out, and like took the like let them get as much time as I could, and then chopped them all, threw them all in a tote, drove them to the new house, went back, broke the whole tent down, broke the whole rest of the grow down, pulled the wiring back, put everything back. I was supposed to be out the next day. Uh, Dried those, sifted them here at the new house, and pretty much those were like seeds I was just handing out to people, right? Like I didn't want to, like I didn't really have a brand. I had been talking to somebody about artwork. I had like been, talking to people about like a name, you know what I mean? Like how I came up with my name, and was working at a glass shop, right? Like I was just register guy at the glass shop, but like having this passion project on the side.
Oh,
That was
absolutely.
that was the start of it. Was just all these pushes from one person to the next person to the next person, and just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Build that brand, getting the name out there and whatnot. Um,
yeah,
new breeder comes up to you, says, Drew, I want to build a brand.
yeah.
I want to be a big name breeder. What advice would you give for somebody looking to start out and to get started really getting their name out there?
Um, so find what you like, right? Like if you love sativas, right? Or if you love super, you know, pretty looking herb, or you like, purple weed, and that's it. Find whatever you like. That's number one. Accumulate as much seed of that or as many cuttings in that circle, flower them out, see what you're looking at, study the plant. Literally watch every node, every leaf set, the growth pattern, whatever, however you want to clump it together. Then find breeders that are already working with those similar lines that have already had verified stuff. Grab those seeds. Most people are chill about it, and it'll be like, especially if you ask, if you say, hey, you know I'm looking to make some seed, you know what I mean? I'm just like, hey, want to preserve these cuts. The cuts are already in here. I want to double down on this work or whatever, right? Most of them are cool. Um, then make those seeds. Do it. Select your male based off of what you like about it. There's a bunch of different ways to go about it. Some people say just go off a stem rub. I do a lot more than just stem rub, especially now that I'm so far into my lines. There are certain things I want.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much to do with that selection process and whatnot. I imagine that working multiple lines, you've got a lot of different things that you're looking at, looking for. Could you talk to how you're doing that selection a little bit? What you're looking for in the male, what you're looking for in the female?
Yeah, so female, we're resin hunting. You know what I mean? So if it's already terpy and it's already thrown down in a bag, I'm immediately interested in that. Males, it's a little bit different because males, you don't want them to like overpower your female. Um, they have a tendency to do that. Like those first Dosi by OGQB Triple Kush male plants, that whole batch of stuff that I did with the sugary male is stamped all over that. Like, I mean, it's hard to find stuff that's not that coming out of those lines, right? Whereas the OGKB Triple Kush, he definitely leads to he has his own set of stuff that like issue wise, like he's got that OGKB leaf trait, he's short, squatty, but throws resin, right? Now he has a blander, more like creamy terpene, right? So it's not like you're getting like if you go to really terpy girls, right? They like split the difference. You can still find some cool stuff. Um, you want to see how they grow. So for me right now, knowing that I have all this stuff that's a little bit shorter and a little bit stouter, I'm looking for bigger dudes. I'm looking for males that have stretch to them. 2x, 3x jumps are totally okay by me. I'm selecting towards that in this direction, knowing that I have this solid foundation of washers because I'm taking this stud male to other stuff that it already washes, and I've got a few different males that were, one I was looking for straight terps. I was like, give me the stinkiest grape because I love grape terps in like hash. So it's like, where's the stinky grape terp? That's what led me to work with this grape pie wedding crasher, right? But there's like, a bunch of different perspectives, and it's really easy to follow this rabbit hole for a little bit and then jump off and follow this other, and it's hard for me to like keep that focus. So like um I like to do line work as far as like bxing, because I know that I want more of like the mother trait in there. With in theory you're going to get like the process that Cindy 99 went through, right, where they wanted them all to come out looking like that. That's years worth of work though. So I
Oh yeah.
found that there are things that I like to go after, and then there's stuff that I like the just diversity in an F1 hunt. You know what I mean? So there's certain things that I find one and done, and I'm happy with what's going on with that. Um, Currently I'm looking for a stretchier male. So I've been going through some stuff that I know washes, or at least the parents of it wash. Um, and it's not just a stump. It's got some stretch to it, especially when because I'll flower the males out to just like see what's up with them before I put them with girls. I got like a little 2x4, like it's like modified little
Yep.
closet space thing, just to see what's going on with males.
Yeah. Will you
And
run them all the way to the finish then, like the full 8, 9, 10 weeks?
No, just until they like start to dump because I'm still like running like some Sensi crops still. You know what I mean? So I'm just looking to see how they stretch and how they set up that flower set. Right. Those are my first two. Like once I've like narrowed it down based off of veg speed, and I'm like, okay, cool. I know out of say I get 5 males in a pack, I'm calling one or two of those right from the beginning. You know what I mean? Like you got to make calls. Those are important parts of the process. Um, so I'll only be looking at maybe 2 or 3 males by the time I get them into that tent. They've already gone through stress with drought. They've already gone through stress with root bound. I'll let them stick into a solo cup for a long time before, just so that I know if they start throwing male flowers under any of those situations while still being in my bedroom, they're not gonna make the cut.
Yeah.
Um, they're too stress prone. I don't want anything that's stress prone, because at the end of the day, that consumer that's going to get these seeds, I have no idea how they grow. You know what I mean? I can't sit there and be like, oh yeah, you're going to grow with the best conditions. You got the best setup, top of the line, everything. No, I can't control any of that. So I have to
Yeah.
make sure that the plants are adaptable and aren't going to trigger and start pushing out sacks in the middle of veg, just because they've missed a couple days of water. And then I hammer them down and they push more growth. And now they're throwing, precursor pre-flowers that are, could compromise a room. You know what I mean? Like those are all bad signs. Same thing with like root bound. Some plants, as soon as they hit root bound, are going to start to like flower. Um, don't want any of that, because I don't know what, again, anybody's space is like. Some people might only have one room, so they're holding plants maybe a little bit longer than they should to get to that next cycle. I don't
So
want any of those in my lines.
how long then do you feel that you're working or testing a line before you're like, okay, this is good to go. I'm ready to put this out and you feel good about it?
Um, when it goes, it's a two-part question. When it comes to how long does it take before I pick a male to be like, okay, here's a project and I'm going to put these plants together, that could be like 6 months, a year, depending on how I've got things shuffled.
Fair.
um then as far as like making those seeds, that's the amount of time it takes to do that. And then we got to get those seeds out to testers. We've got to do an in-house test. So there's certain ways to do, I'm thankful that I've built the network that I have, where I can like quick pull out some seeds of the bud still drying and get those out to testers. I've used it as a promotional thing on the page before too, where it's like dibs. I got 2 vials of testers. First two dibs gets them. First one gets first pick. And then I have a certain requirement feedback. I'll send you like the email that says, here's or the DM, here's the requirements. I want updates on how they pop. I want updates on, what they look like in the first 2 weeks. Then let you do your thing, hit me back with any of the like info of once you flowered. Like I want to know from day 1 to day 14 what you've done, day 14 to 21 what you've done, how they've responded. Right, herming comes up between 1 and 14. If they're there by 21, you're the problem. You know what I mean? So like that's why I have certain benchmarks. um and then flower pictures at the end, how did they smoke, that whole side of things.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for me. I'll like plug in super small 1 gallon pots, maybe even half full 1 gallons, fire them off, just to look at them. I'll smoke that, just see what they look like. You know what I mean? Those then have a chance to get out into the market. Sometimes the market pushes you a little bit faster, so you don't have everything tested out first. You got to disclose that, so especially when somebody like hits me up and says, "Oh, hey, I'm interested in, 5 of these, 4 of them been tested." I'm gonna be like, "Yeah, I mean the fifth one's probably good, but like to be fair, no one's run it yet." You know what I mean? Just because of space requirements, plant requirements,
Right.
plant count requirements, stuff like that.
Very
So
cool.
once the testers have their like hands on them and we're getting that feedback back, then they drop out. So like this candy fumes line, it probably won't get released till at least like the fall. You know what I mean? I'll leak some stuff, get the hype going. But yeah, pretty much just like the full drop won't be till this fall. But I'm making it now. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. Getting the work put in, getting the things figured
Yeah.
out. I really, really
Hmm.
do appreciate that. I want to change it up a little bit and talk some community stuff here. First,
Sure.
actually, I got a question from one of my community members. He said to ask you about the mass super skunk and if that rings a bell.
Yeah, I mean, Mass Super Skunk is a legend. Um, It's a legendary strain. Everybody has their like the first time they've smoked it. Uh, it's awesome. Is it around? I don't know. I had I worked for the guy that like was really plugged in with the chem dog stuff, and like over the course of me working at that spot, um for him it didn't exist. And then like as things became more legal and like, because I was there through that whole, our state went recreational as well as a bunch of other states. So
Right.
Massachusetts being one of those. Um oh, I linked up with my buddy at, at that same time Dead and Co started up. You know what I mean? So it's like all these old heads came out of the woodwork where they might not have had that number. Rumor was that their Mass Super Skunk came back, right? And that
Right.
this old head had it. Personally, have I seen it since? No. I personally haven't smoked it. Would I love to? Yes. I mean, it was one of those strains that you smoked it and you lost your whole afternoon. You were like, you get home, you rolled at that time Dutches, right? Like, so you roll a Dutch and you go out and the whole rest of the summer's gone. You know what I mean? It was some fire. Other legendary strains like that would be like the Shire. That one was like was epic. It was like super silver sour diesel haze, I think.
Okay.
Some old res stock that like got
Nice.
hunted by like the Ithaca kids, I believe, in New York. Um, yeah, that was the Blockhead too. That was another fire one from back in the day.
Right
Chem
on.
D, obviously, but that's around. That's been around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the different versions of it and the stuff. To be honest, I still haven't gotten to try a straight Candy or anything along those lines, but we're hoping that'll change. Now, what about up and comers? Anybody that you're seeing on the Instagram or elsewhere in the community that you're like, this guy's got some gear that's gonna really knock off some socks.
Let's see. I don't really know. I thought about that question a couple of times because I'm so focused on what I'm doing, it's hard for me to like poke my head up and see what's going on. There's definitely homies that have been starting to put out some work, whether it's their first pollen chuck or not. I love when people use my gear and then be like, "Oh, hey, I did this little pollen chuck. You want some seeds?" I wouldn't necessarily say that they're like trying to breed. You know what I mean? At least they haven't like outright said it. I'm sure there's some like people that are crushing it right now that I'm just not tuned into. Maine's a little bit of a bubble up
Right.
here. Um, it's the biggest small state out there, so we kind
Nice.
of all just talk to each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Real close knit
I'm trying
community.
to think. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's super cool. Well, let me spin around a little bit then. Any of the big guys out there, guys whose gear you'd love to work with, or maybe do some collabs with.
Yeah. So I really like Karma's work.
Hmm.
Right now, he's not necessarily like a wash focused breeder, but he's like a true breeder in the sense of like loves working his reg lines, loves to do the like multiple male look through. Um, Everything that I've ran from his, I have found something that I would want to run again, and I've lost so much from him that I would love to have had back. Uh, love his work. Canorado, I'm definitely a big fan of his work, but he's so fast. It's so hard to keep track of what he's putting out. You know what I mean? Like it's just drop after drop after drop. Now, at the same time, Bloom has been crushing it. I love his gear. I've ran a ton of that stuff. I used to work pretty closely with those guys when they were together with like Oni.
Hmm.
Um, like the one guy from Oni lived like in the town next to me, so I was like hustling those packs when they first started. I got my mountain trop from them when I ended up making Sandy Beaches with, um, which crushes for like orange terp asher. Like that's definitely a fire plant. But yeah, so Bloom would be up there. Karma. Yeah, I mean, there's guys that I respect too that I think that we could like make some cool stuff with. Like, um, I just did some work with MTS Farms. I sent my Great Pie Wedding Crasher mail out to him, and he did some cool stuff with like his small batch washer stuff. Um, I did a collab with Soul Rebel, sent some pollen down to him. There's been a couple other guys like locally, right, that have been like, oh, hey, I'd love to, hit these couple of plants. Do you happen to have some pollen that I've just, passed some pollen to? Those small collabs are great because it allows me to bring in some genetic diversity while still maintaining this like baseline that I've been
Yep,
working with. So I'm big into that. If it
totally.
was like a if it was like a who could I work with like bucket list type thing, yeah, Bloom, Canorado, uh, Karma, yeah, stuff like that.
Very cool. Now, on Instagram, you refer to yourself as the pie-eyed guy, and we touched on that a
Yeah.
little bit earlier, talked on a little bit at the beginning. But I think just for the benefit of the community, tell us the story of pie-eyed and how it came to be.
So the Pide is Pido number 4, which is Mega Raw Melt Cut of Pido. That is fantastic. It's like one of the best washers, if not the best washer that we were able to work with. Um, and it's to the OGKB triple cush. So I made that. I've like remade it a couple of times. Um, it is one of those plants that when you plant it, whether you're indoor or outdoor, you're gonna get back something, right? The juice is 100% worth the squeeze. If you've only got
That one's from a boy Leonard, so he says it all the time. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean it. Like I've let those go out in the field like guerrilla style, came back in October and pulled down some fire rosin. The genetic mashup with the creaminess of the OGKB mixed with the gassiness of the pie dough, but then there's the grape pie all in that pie dough. So you're getting this like grape, creamy, hashy. I mean, it's true fitting to the name. Like when you smoke it, your eyelids get heavy, you sink back in your chair, it really rings your bell. Um, it just happened to be the one that caught the most attention. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like the combo was perfect, maybe a little bit slow, you know what I mean? On the parent, both parents were a little bit slow. That's why I'm like working towards a goal of not such a slow plant or not needing such a bushy plant. But you put her outside, she's a damn near hydrophobic, so she doesn't really get mold. Pests don't like her. The whatever is going on with like I think it's coming off the OGKB, but the pests just have a hard time interacting with her. Um, they get to full size, they rock up, they finish in by we have a hard season here in Maine, so it's not like California. That out in California would be insane because they just have that much more sun. Their season goes that much longer. We're pulling by, we're done by October 20th. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like that's it. Like we're probably, and I'm probably pushing the later side of that game. You know what I mean? Like I should probably be pulling maybe a week earlier,
yeah. Oh no, I feel that, man. I mean, where I'm at, it's rough to even attempt to do outdoor just because our seasons they can be so sporadic and whatnot. But I got a greenhouse coming, and look for that in future episodes, folks. What do you consider your white whale? What are you on the hunt for?
um, for just like head smoke, that Shire or the Blockhead.
Yeah.
Those two would be like ones that I never got to grow as a plant. Like I remember I can vividly remember the experiences smoking them. That would be the white whale for like just like plants, right? Um, the white whale that's like kind of like an obtainable goal is to work towards like almost a double digit like a 10% hash strain.
Oh, yeah,
It's
buddy.
big swinging, you know what I mean? Like we're not close collectively as a community, as a people that are breeding towards hash. We're not close. There's sevens, there's eights, you know.
Yeah.
So we're stepping in the right direction. The trouble with that, and I actually saw a post earlier today that was like kind of reminiscing or saying the same thing, but those plants don't taste that great. The hash just tastes like hash. The flour on them like just is a little bit just harsh because there's just so much resin there. Um, it's not enjoyable smoke. It's like a thick, heavy smoke. So I think the way to split the difference on that, we're probably a couple years of breeding away, maybe even 5 years of breeding away. Not me specifically, but like the group of us that do breed towards hash forward genetics, right? Um, you got to be able to bring some terps to the table too. So it's like
100%.
whatever you're bringing for terps kind of like offsets that percentage number. A production strain that's pushing 7 might only have like 1 or 2% terps, whereas something that's like maybe pushing 2% on the yield, might have like 5% terps. And it's tough to
Yes.
find stuff like that you want to keep washing.
Yep.
It fucks your bags all up, makes them super greasy. Um, you can't work because you got to stop and clean the bags. Um, so it's splitting the difference, taking a little bit from one side, bringing it towards the center, taking a little bit from the other side, but maybe a step further and bringing it towards the center. So you're constantly splitting differences. And that's a lot of breeding, right? Is taking these two genetic types that are drastically different, bringing them together, hoping that they split the difference. If you're trying to select towards one way, you immediately know what's not going to go based off of where they are on either side. Um, a lot of like going back to that advice for a first time breeder, a haze to a stout Bubba Kush. You know what I mean? Like do something like that where anything that's throwing that haze traits are easily cullable, or if you want more of that but you want the haze to be like a little bit not as long flower time or not as unruly, little you can go the other way with it and select towards that. So it's easier to see with those drastically different uh expressions. I'm I'm in a different portion of that where it's like I know this circle of plants works for me and it does what it's where I want to be, but I need to add certain things to this mix. So you add one part, you focus on one part at a time, and then so height, focus on that, found something that'll work, put it into the lines, see what the kids come out like. Okay, those are great. Now we got to bring in terps too, so we're going to look at this other side of the coin. You can sometimes run those on two separate lines at the same time and then know that you're eventually going to bring them together. But bringing that like those two drastically different plants together to split the difference is a really good way to learn about how plants express traits earlier than flowering them all out.
That's super cool, man. It's more great advice. So, fems or regs?
um Regs forever. I don't think I'll
Yeah.
ever stop making regs. I
Yeah.
love that aspect of true breeding.
Mhm.
Um, Markets love fems.
They sure do.
I've not produced any fems yet. I think I want to. I've got a couple of plants that I'm like, okay, this is a good candidate. Um, I love popping fems. I go through a year, I'll pop, maybe a third of them will be fems. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Especially if I'm not looking for a male. Like if I know that if I, it's not something that I'm going to want to look at a male for, those fems will get popped for sure. Um, but I keep all my males on most stuff. You know what I mean when I'm looking through it. So I do love regs. I pop a lot of regs for sure.
Yeah.
Would make some fems though.
Very cool.
I would.
I feel you, man. I mean, it's Fems, they're easy, right? You know what you're doing. I'm gonna pop six. I'm gonna have six, unless one dies because it did something
Sure.
dumb, you know. But with regs, it's rolling the dice. Popped a bunch, got all
Mhm.
males before. The recent
Yep.
run I'm doing right now is some Oaxacan skunk crosses. 8 out of 10 were females.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just rolling the dice. But no, I hear you. What else do we got here? Because we're working through most of the questions. I think we're kind of getting to the end, to be frank. What we're going to do is, I can't really advertise you too heavily. I can put your Instagram link down below. That's where we're going to
Sure.
tell people to go and check
Yep.
you out. But anything coming up on the horizon, something that you're working on, some new drops you want to hype up here?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier I'm doing the Candy Fumes hybrids, so that's with Bloom Seed Co. and Boston Roots. Um, they did Candy Fumes, so it's Skittles by Banger. Banger came from Boston Roots. It's Sunset Sherb by Headbanger. So like we're
Oh,
talking like
sure.
3 generations back just in the opener, right?
Yeah.
So I selected a male out of that to bring some more terpenes to with the potential to have washers in there also. The Z train is crazy right now. Everybody wants belts this or Z that. Candy Fumes fits that bill. Um I have I have some like super cool stuff in the works. I had made Sunday Driver by OGKB Triple Kush years ago and only got like 10 or 15 seeds.
Right.
Um, so I sent those to my buddy in New York and he popped them and passed me back all the males. So I've got him looking at all the females. I've got the rest of the pack of males. Um, that's on the horizon. And then I'm doing a Sandy Beaches mail. That's also on the horizon. The Sandy Beaches mail, um, the Sandy Beaches I can't make again. I don't have the mountain trop. It's not like it's one that's like hard to get, but it's just I don't have it in house. Sandy Beaches is an amazing plant that washes like this beautiful melt. Um, really orange creamsicle or orange Sprite terps almost
Sounds
on some
delicious.
of the fiends. Yeah, like it was. uh, We definitely got burned out on it because it was one of those that like it went hard and heavy right from the beginning. But there's a need for that. You know what I mean? Like in a
Yep.
world of either gas or grape or Skittles, having that like cookies tangy, eh, tangy, right? But having that cookies hybrid in it, uh, it's fire, man, and it makes some really nice rosin, and it's a nice palate change. Um, so Sandy Beach's male, the Super Secret Sunday Driver, OGKB Kush, OGKB Triple Kush male. Um, Maybe a Sandy Beach's Femme project. Probably not if I since I got the mail going on, but there's a couple other plants I just got like in the wings and I'm like, "Ooh, this could be a cool Femme project." Um
Awesome, awesome. So it
yeah,
sounds
for
like
sure.
you got a lot ahead in the next year or so, a lot to look forward to,
Yeah.
especially if you
Yeah,
are a
yeah.
fan of Crystal Rose and have had a chance to work with Drew's gear. But that kind of brings us to the end here, Drew. I want to thank you, man. Hugely enjoyed you having you on the show today. You dropped some great knowledge. I think anybody, especially who's coming up in the game, would definitely benefit from following some of the things that you've talked about. I just want to say thank you for stopping by the show today.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. It was a pleasure.
All right. Well, guys, it's Drew, Crystal Rose. Check him out down below. Otherwise, we out.